When the same-sex marriage bill passed on Friday, it was with the support from a key group of backers on Wall Street. Hello, I'm Evelyn Risley with DealBook for the New York Times, joined today with Michael Barbaro, one of my colleagues at the paper. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you wrote about the backroom dealings on how this bill got passed. Who are some of the people on Wall Street who helped out?
What's interesting, there were three Wall Street hedge fund guys, three very exceedingly wealthy hedge fund guys, big donors to the Republican Party who were very integral to this process. Cliff Asness of AQR Capital Management, Paul Singer, of course, of Elliott Management, has a B behind his name, billionaire, and Dan Loeb of Third Point. And these three guys had both a political and a very personal attachment to the issue of same-sex marriage. Let's start with the personal because it's kind of fascinating. Paul Singer is a very conservative guy. He's head of the Manhattan Institute, which is a very conservative think tank in Manhattan, but he has a gay son. That gay son was married in Massachusetts. He believes in this personally as well as politically. The other two guys, as well as Mr. Singer, view this as the ultimate conservative position: limited government, personal freedom. Same-sex marriage, while it's thought of as a predominantly democratic liberal issue, is viewed by these guys through the prism of get the government out of people's bedrooms. So they decided
more of a libertarian kind of values.
Libertarian, not necessarily left or right. That's right.
Now, how did they all get involved? I mean, I heard that the governor was very instrumental in bringing them together, and why was he so key on having these three hedge fund guys come in?
Well, there's an interesting backstory. These three guys were actually looking to put their money into it, and they were skeptical of whether or not this Democratic governor could get it done. There was a fascinating secret meeting a few weeks ago at the office of Paul Singer in Midtown on Fifth Avenue, where two of the governor's top advisors went in. You can only imagine how wild this was. The aides to one of the ascendant Democratic governors in the country meeting with these big donors to the opposing party saying, help us get gay marriage done. And by the end of that meeting, it seemed that these guys were believers that Cuomo could get it done. And the reason why the governor's staff wanted them there was because it was only Republicans with Republican credentials and Republican, a conservative checkbook that could persuade Republican state senators, who were so crucial, that actually there might be an upside to voting for gay marriage rather than the downside they were hearing about from some of their constituents.
How instrumental were these three hedge fund managers to helping this bill get passed? I mean, can you quantify that?
It's difficult to quantify. It's a little bit of an intangible, but it's worth going back to something that Daniel Loeb said to the New York Times several weeks ago, and it was that if Republican state senators voted for this, not only would they not be abandoned by their Republican base, but a whole new world of donors would be available to them. I'm going to tell you something that's not such a big secret. In politics, money really matters. And the idea that Republican state senators were going to be tapping into this whole new universe of potential donors was extremely appealing. So while it's intangible, I think we know that it's something that the governor of New York would not want it to have gone through without. He wanted this support, and he wanted these huge, big names on Wall Street to be there with him trying to get marriage passed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether this can be replicated in other states, and whether this kind of coalition will also form. Thanks again. Today my guest has been Michael Barbaro, and he's a reporter at the New York Times, and I'm Evelyn Risley with DealBook for the New York Times.